Hey guys, welcome to tonight's shave. Rose Santal collaboration effort from Chatillon Luxe is how you pronounce that. Chatillon Luxe, partly French, so that's why. And then L&L Grooming, who has now become Declaration Grooming and sold the business, I think, something like that. And this is the Bison base, which is tremendous. It's been one of my favorites for a while. Let's just see if it holds up. See if I remember accurately how good it is. This is a new puck. That's how it looks. That's how full it is new. Kind of a dirty color. It's got some nice warm spices coming up. In addition to the sandalwood, it does seem the pepper. There's some black pepper in there as well. That's kind of dominant, at least at the top, right away, instead of necessarily the sandalwood. I'm a huge sandalwood fan, but as you can see by the name, there's got to be some rose in there too. He said in the description, I think, kind of a dusty rose. I'm not opposed to the rose if it plays well with others and doesn't take a huge feminine part of the scent. So let's give it a shot. It's a limited edition apparently. I got it with a large box of soaps that I bought, and I know I love the base. I love sandalwood. Cardamom is in here as well. Black pepper and labdanum. In the description it said labdanum was animalistic, and that's all I know about labdanum. And there's another one of my favorite soaps that has cardamom in it as well. I think it may be Passion from Soap Commander. I think it's got teakwood and cardamom, and so it's possible that cardamom is an enjoyable favorite scent of mine. I just don't really know how to identify it yet specifically. So let's test it out. I definitely smell rose in there, and there is a sweetness to it, almost like a lang lang, a thick, sweet, intense type of sweetness to it. But that's in the back. You can still smell the rose up front. So let's just see how it does. I know the quality is going to be great. Let's see how the scent works, for me at least. The brush has a CravingShaving blue, white, and dark handle with a knot from Elite Razor. It is I think a 26mm fan knot, and it's their finest badger. I don't know if it's a Manchurian or not. The description in the write-up should tell you exactly. He's been soaking for 10 or 15 minutes. The razor we're going to use today is my Karve Christopher Bradley, Canadian manufacturer. If you've been around this industry for the last year or two, you have no doubt heard about these Karve razors. This one's brass. It was the first one he released, the first metal he released. It's more inexpensive than the stainless steel. It's easier to manufacture apparently. I think it's gorgeous. I hand polished the butt cap, the top part of the handle, and the top cap with just simple metal polish and elbow grease and a good rag. I did not polish the safety bar, the base plate, and so you can kind of see the original bead blasted finish on that. And I am glad that I have a brass razor. I'm trying to hold these things to show you, and it means I hold them in weird ways that can sometimes slip. So there's bead blasted with patina. I've had this plate for at least a year, and so there's some patina. Obviously the polishing removed the patina, but it'll come back if I leave it alone, and I do plan to. Someday maybe I'll polish the base plates too. I don't see too much use in polishing the top of them because they're not seen. I may polish this leading edge here. Who knows? I may just leave it alone and enjoy the two two-tone approach. Feather is the blade for today. This is my marathon feather, and it's got 43 uses on it. I'm starting with 41 right there, 42, 43. So that's where that next count is starting. And since it has been about 30 uses or so, it has needed to migrate away from some of the milder razors. And so I'm going to put it, that's why I chose it today, because I'm using the C base plate. So I believe if this acts very much like my Nasset, the age of this one, 43, should be compatible with a mid-plate, a mid-aggression plate like the C. I think Chris from CravingShaving, Canadian company, I've mentioned that already, sorry, said that he thought his solid bar B plate was his mid plate, the one that, you know, mid aggression. And he might be exactly right. For the way it behaves with me, this razor is just so smooth that C seems to be more the mid plate for me. And I particularly love, I love Michael Friedberg. He is another much more renowned wet shaver on YouTube than I am. And he's got a bunch of great videos out there. I recommend so many times his wet shaving tutorial. He's got a 4-part wet shaving tutorial. He likes to lather on the face, and so that'll be a big difference between him and me. But I always recommend that to new starting shavers. And he has a little problem with the end tabs. Some of them have a little bit of sharpness to them, and apparently the way he shaves near his ears and nose, he sometimes gets scratched up with the end tabs, and so he loves the covered end tabs. I've also heard recently that Karve is changing and going to be offering maybe a new head design. And so that'll be interesting to see how whether they keep this old head design in parallel with the new, so you can choose, or if this will become deprecated. I'm so happy with this one that I don't really care what happens in one sense. I know I've got a great razor, and so he's going to cover the end tabs, it seems like, with the new design. And it's kind of a funny tongue-in-cheek war that a few of the guys online have with Michael Friedberg. So that's the exposure that we're talking about here. You can see the blade there. And with the Chris Bradley razor, see that little gap between the blade and where it steps out onto the bar? That gap right there is raised or lowered to make the different aggression levels, plates. All right, so feather, 43 uses, so 44 now. Elite razor brush that's been soaking nicely, should have plenty of time here. The water at this location is going to be chilly, and it is a nice soft water for shaving. Shaking out most of the water in this knot. And then we'll load since this is a brand new puck, why don't we do 40 seconds? If we ended up with way too much lather, then so be it. All right, so, okay, 15 seconds was right there. And so 45 seconds is going to be right at the next minute mark. And so we'll do 5 seconds. We'll stop 5 seconds before that. If I am mixing and it looks a little bit too dry and it feels pasty, then sometimes I will assume I have come at it with a knot that maybe is too dry. And so I'll add maybe half a teaspoon of water or several drops or just whatever. Okay, well, time flies, and so one more second, and there we go. I thought I was going to have to add some water, but It looks really good. I don't think I'm going to need to do that. So here's what 40 seconds of loading looks like. This is a dense brush, lots of hairs, a dense badger brush. And this is the easiest point in the shave to clean up the threads of your tub so that they don't get soap buildup and later on become tough to screw and unscrew. I'm going to take my Roger Quintero lather bowl. It's a 3D printed one. If any of you have seen objects like that, you can kind of recognize some of the look. If you want to print your own, you can. The plans are available for free online. There's a link in my video description. This is the extra large version of the bowl that is there in those files. If you have a 3D printer, obviously, there you go. Or you can use a service like makexyz.com that can hook you up. I believe they're kind of a brokerage company that can hook you up with somebody who can print it for you for a fee, obviously. And I always like to just crank on it for just a little bit and watch how it behaves before I add any more water to it. There are a few soaps that's a very important thing to do. I don't think this is one of them. And so I have my 2 teaspoon syringe. I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon first. This bowl is, I don't know, 5.5 inches in diameter, and when I have a small brush, I happen to have a couple of boards that I'm kind of doing a practice lather on, standing by here. When I have a little small bore brush like this, I do feel a lot of room in here, and that the bowl is too big. But then when I put a guy like this in it, which is not all that big of a knot, you know, there are definitely people who like 30mm knots out there. They're 28s, and those are of course going to be bigger than this one. When I use these sizes, then this bowl really shines and feels like the perfect size. Because for me, there's some importance in having room for the lather to go, somewhere for the lather to go in the bowl. Because if you're churning your brush all around in it, then it needs to be able to go somewhere. And the bowl with these high walls keeps the lather in pretty easily. An idea I'm dabbling with is a Himalayan or Tibetan singing bowl. Often a brass construction. Obviously I don't need it for its musical properties, but it has an inturned lip. Some of them have been hammered, and so there's a bit of a texture there. Often they are made of brass, so that's going to last a nice long time. And they are often kind of large. There is, man, I forget his YouTube username. And he bought one, and it's maybe 6 inches in diameter, 6.5 maybe, something like that. And at first he thought it was crazy, but he's really enjoying having that much room to make his lather. Now, if you have a large bowl and you have a small brush, one thing you can do is turn the bowl tilted a little bit, and then keep your brush in the bottom part. The excess lather can be up here in the top, not being sloshed out of the bowl, and you basically have reduced the size of your bowl. This lather's terrific. It looks great. Looks like it needs more water. I have put 3 teaspoons in it. Do I dare put 4? I'm just going to do a half, and I'm going to make sure I get a good mix here, and then I'm going to feel it. It's been a long time since I've used Bison. Let's just show you how it looks at this point. We don't have a lot of rolls and ridges and peaks and valleys. A few. Pretty smooth looking. See how long of a stretch we get. Not a big stretch in terms of the peaks. Okay, now let's kind of bring it all down in a similar way, but this time we'll leave half of it kind of connected in the bowl and then lift up and watch the stretch there. Again, medium length peaks. And note that this wall of peak right here, look how easily it holds itself up. I can turn it sideways, barely moving in terms of drooping or anything like that. That is something to look at, something to think about. Use it as a telltale sign of your lather's condition. If you use a soap base over and over and over, then you'll be able to use this and say, this is exactly where I want it, if you like that. This may also tell you, need more water. I want it to be more floppy. I want it to be more elastic than that. And so whatever you choose, you can use that kind of information, that kind of appearance to help you to get the lather to where you want it and not go over. In the light of what we just saw, I'm going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon. So now we've got 4.5 teaspoons in here. Because I believe that Bison can take that much water without a problem. You can also watch how the lather moves in the bowl as you're twirling your brush, as you're mixing. Does it scoot up the wall and then stop? Does it act like a really soft marshmallow cream and act more like a liquid where it waves up, and then when you move your brush to the other side of the bowl, it comes back down? Those are some attributes to look for as well, to help you to kind of memorize what you like best. Maybe you never get it to that stage because you like it a little drier. It's your preference. The spices are really doing it for me. If they weren't there, I'm going to bet I would not like this. It would be too kind of rosy. But those spices, and the rose is nice, and so they're acting together and creating something neat. I may be very glad I tried this. I may just keep this guy around. Alright, so now let's do those same tests again. We'll bring the lather down a little bit. And I'm going to pull it all. Oh, now look at that stretch. Now, do you see how that wall down there kind of collapsed a little bit? And now we're going to wiggle. See if we can get this clod. It's holding on pretty tight. Look at that right there. Now, when part of it holds on really well and then part of it doesn't, that may mean that you need to keep mixing and just unify it. You have like maybe a wet spot in there. So let's mix it a little bit more. When part of it's super thin and then part of it's acting more thick. Okay, so let's bring it all down again. Kind of do the same thing. Try to leave about half of it in the bowl and lift up the other half. There we go. That bottom collapsed in on itself like that. Now notice this guy's still holding himself up. Okay, look at the surface of the brush here. Look how smooth that is. That's something else to look for. Let's use it right at this stage right here and see if this is where I like my Bison to be. Bison is so good, I bet it could take more water and be just fine. Indeed, a straight razor shaver, they often need something wetter and often use something wetter. And so I'll bet that kind of person would keep pushing water into it. And look at the surface of the lather. It's very smooth. Not just tons of peaks and things like that. So those are just some things to look for as you try to find your preference. And we know that this knot, see how this big knot has gotten bigger and opened up, so we know that it's got lots of lather inside of it, and that's as it should be. And that's one of the reasons I push down as a part of my mixing routine, to push the lather into the knot so that it can combine with the water that's in the knot and all that stuff. Okay, I forgot to put water on my face before, and so my beard is not softened as much as it usually is. Let's take care of that. I don't feel like I have 24 hours worth of growth, but that may be when, I think that was when I shaved last. All right. So without too much softening of the beard, let's go to it. I haven't used this knot. The competitor of this knot is my Sterling Finest, my Maggard SHD. Might have to have a shootout sometime and see. For a long time, the Elite was the one to really go for. It was, I don't think it had too many competitors. And it's kind of pricey. I think the Maggard SHD knot is a little less expensive than that, and so he is definitely a competitor. Now, because my beard wasn't pre-wet, I am gonna, now look at what's happening here. My brush, see, look at all that side stuff. That is lather that's basically being generated as I'm working the brush on my face. And so you can, when your middle kind of gets hollow, you can do a little wiping motion like that and put that clod on your face, and then take the hollow middle, put it right on there, and get that nice creamy feel back. This could be a lather that's a little bit too dry. Definitely could take this a little drier. And sometimes that's a, when you have the buildup like that on the side, sometimes that is an indicator that you definitely can add more water. Let's just take a feel of what we're getting here. That's a nice kind of buttery slickness. This does look a little, it is creamy. It does look a little dry. Oh, and it rinsed away quickly, but it left behind this nice feel. So you know what we're going to do? Let's start adding some water to the brush, and we'll probably see more lather start to come out the sides. And we'll probably see the increased wetness and creaminess start to appear. I like to turn my head to the side, and that way my brush bristles are pointed down, and so that water I just added doesn't have a chance to just come straight out the bottom of the knot, which has happened so many times. If I point the bristles up, I can tell an immediate improvement in this lather. Creamy feel. I mean, it felt nice before. Look at all that lather on the outside. Now here's something we can do. I'm going to kind of scrape all that side lather into the bowl. Let's add some water and just kind of see what happens with the brush. Brush feels great, by the way. Definitely worthy of its acclaim and position as a terrific knot. Don't need it down here. This is also helping to, this partial face lather is helping to hydrate my beard because I missed it. Yeah, this lather looks better, feels more creamy. Definitely needed more water. So you saw the elasticity of that wall that collapsed in my bowl. So now we know we could take it even further than that. So when you want to add water to your brush, if you paint, then you're going to get a brush top like this. And you can, you know, add to the top, but I've had better results if I do a little swirl on my face, on my cheeks like that, to get a hole, a little bit of a hole, and then put some in. It just gets a little deeper into the brush, less of a chance that it's just going to roll right off. Now, so what did I tell you? I scraped all that side lather off, and now look, it's starting to come out again. And so this lather definitely was wanting more water, at least for my preferences. You might like it more dry, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're getting the quality shaves that you want. But a slick wet lather, I just sincerely believe, and that's all it is just a belief. I think that's what's helping me going so far on blades. It's giving good lubrication to the blade, and so it's got to be wearing less on the edge, causing less wear per shave on the edge. That's just my assumption. Well, this lather looks terrific. Feels nice and slick. How does it feel in terms of creaminess? Oh yeah, oh that's better. That is better than before. The moisture, the slickness, and this feel right here, to me, this is better than Milk Steak. This is the Milk Steak, the new Declaration base. In terms of my preferences, the buttery, slick feel that I'm getting right now is just a hair better than Milk Steak's great. Don't get me wrong, but this is just a hair better than Milk Steak. It is just luxuriously creamy and slick and wet all at once. Tremendous. The scent is not bothering me. I think this may be one of the few roses I keep around, because the spices are changing it and tweaking it. It's still very much rose. Anybody who has smelled roses before can use this soap and will probably say, I think there's some rose in there. And so it hasn't lost its distinctiveness, but along with it, it's been tweaked and turned a little bit, and taking it, it's definitely, to me, leaning away from a feminine type of rose toward something that's more masculine. And so the rose is bringing in kind of a sweetness as well as a slight floral. I like it, I think. It's almost got a sweet fruity note to it, at least to me. All right, well, it's been a long time. I got the open comb base plates, and I haven't used too many of the closed comb since I got them, because I really do like the open comb. But just kind of for old time's sake, I brought back this base plate. Now, also want to say that today, Friday, January 17th, I believe. Technically, it's the next day because I'm recording so late. But if you want to get on Reddit, and if you're curious about Declaration Grooming, he did an AMA on the wet shaving subreddit, and AMA means Ask Me Anything. And so there are lots of great answers and information where Scott from Declaration Grooming answered people's questions. Anywhere from what kind of peanut butter do you prefer to, because it is Ask Me Anything, to a whole lot of very good shaving questions, how he plans his scents, you know, what approaches he takes, what does he like or not like. I learned that Dark Fall was one of the formulas. It's an original formula for him, original scent, and he likes it so much. It's one of his favorites, and so that was terrific. I also learned for the first time that there are some people who make their scents on a perfumery kind of base, a perfumery standpoint, so that the aftershave and a cologne can smell like they want it to, and then they just put it into the soap base. He's the other way around. He starts with it in the soap. That's his goal. And I'm so glad about that, because I'm more of a soap guy than I am the liquids. And so I think that's pretty neat. It's good to have both kinds of people out there, is what I'm saying. And I'm glad such a quality guy is on the soap side as well. So if you want a lot of information about declaration grooming, then you know, kind of not inside information, but just stuff that you're not going to find other places, then check out the subreddit Wet Shaving, and look for and do a search for AMA and declaration grooming, or look for this date in the year is 2020. In case this video lasts a long time, you might need the year too. All right, well, I've given my beard time to absorb this lather. Soften those whiskers. Let's see what the sea feels like with a feather blade that, according to many, is way beyond its years. It is not a smooth shave right now. But it's not tugging. I mean, I feel the blade. Definitely not uncomfortable. Definitely not painful. A newer, younger feather might just slice through this without too much of a thought, and so maybe the 40-something-year-old one, you know, is not able to do that. And so the feeling I'm getting, the sensation, is that the feather is moving over the hairs and cutting some of them and not cutting some, or it's not just mowing through without any resistance like perhaps a newer blade might. Now, in my experience, it's not a problem, because it just means that there's a few more bristles, a few more stubble that the second pass will have to deal with. So let's do a rinse now. That rinse right there, the slickness that I felt, the luxury and the cream that I felt, is why Bison is so near the top of my list. That's why I like it a little better than Icarus. I love Icarus. I like Bison just a little bit better. And that's why Milk Steak is in third place, at least for me, of the declaration formulations. I do plan on doing a soap-based shootout, but I kind of now know where I rank the declaration soaps, at least in relation to each other. So I just did kind of a partial rinse. And so now, oh, you know what? We discovered that this lather needed more water. So it looks like 40 seconds was overkill. So now we have 4 teaspoons of water in the lather. And now we have 5 total teaspoons involved in making this lather. So let's mix this in and see what kind of appearance of viscosity we get. So often I think about redoing this bowl, redesigning it, and reducing the diameter. And I think when I'm thinking that is after I've used a small brush, because it does feel like a big bowl and my hands having to travel a lot. But with a knot size like this, I do not want to reduce this bowl, and I'm glad that I am having that thought and that epiphany right now. Do not want to make smaller, at least for, I think a lot of people can deal with a smaller bowl because maybe they don't mix the entire lather up. Maybe they mix a concentrate and then they add more water when you're on the face, and it's your shave. Do what you want. For me, I like to mix the whole lather so that I can just dip in here and go, instead of having to add water like I did that first pass. So now let's see if we can notice a difference. I have so much lather here. See if we can notice a difference now. Look, you see that difference in the stretch? That is amazing. That looks like a perfect Bison lather for me. That is it right there. Look at that stretch, the collapse. That is it. Now let's see how it feels on the face. Wow, that is nice. Elasticity, but keeping its slickness and creaminess at the same time. Those are just earmarks of a good, excellent shaving soap. Now, I've got too much lather on my brush here. Got big old clods there. That's all right, it works out. Just painting strokes now because we've done all the scrubbing we need to in the earlier passes. Oh, that's a good lather. Slick, slick, slick. Now, let's see what we get with feather. And I'm going to do, you know what, let's do another with the grain pass, just for grins. Oh, and see, this one is just moving through with barely any resistance. And so while it may have felt like earlier, I wasn't getting many hairs. I really was. This is a very comfortable, no tugging at all. I do have the sensation that I'm cutting hairs, but just barely. Very smooth, very comfortable. Also, the slickness, the glide that the razor has is ultimate. Tremendous. All right, there's a little half rinse there. And also drying of the goatee. Get the extra water out of there. I don't want it to leak out and flush my lather away with too much moisture. I've had that happen before. Now I can quickly switch to painting. The scrubbing really just needs to be done on that first pass. Little badge of honor there. Tons of lather. Wow, 20 seconds might be what I need to use with this brush next time. So much lather, but these things last for so many shaves that if you overestimate, it's not gonna break the bank at all. So I didn't expect the second pass to be that smooth, but it was. This is going to be even better. Excuse me. So this is the C, and so I still have a sensation that there are bits of stubble that are being trimmed and cut. It's just super comfortable. I don't actually have, do you know this? The sensation I have is not the blade edge moving across my skin. The sensation is the feel of the stubble being touched. It's what it is. And that is just a wonderful function of the solid hold that the Chris Bradley razor has on the blade, and the slickness, the protection that Bison offers. And holy cow, what a great lather. Oh man, it will be a travesty if I get, and I'm using cold water right now. I'm not tapping into the warm to bring it up to tepid, so it is cold. Got down to freezing tonight. That's just terrific. In terms of viscosity, it's not super thick, but it's laying down this, it's not a thin layer of slickness like some of the soaps do. It's a medium layer of thickness and protection that is just perfect for me, at least. And it takes several seconds before that slickness is rinsed off my fingers. So that was that the third pass? Yes, because the second pass I went with the grain again. So that was the third. You know, I like that so much. I'm going to do another pass just for fun. All right. Water out of the beard. And I also want to pay attention to the scent strength. And that's really why I want to do another pass. And I've got plenty of lather to do it. I've got 4 passes of lather right here, easy. 5. I've got 5 without a problem. Let's just for grins do the whole face, because I want to see this perfect, for me, concentration of lather, the perfect ratio of soap and water. What kind of scent strength am I getting? It is present. It is not overwhelming. I may have to keep this one around just as a representative of a rose that I get along with. I'd say 6 out of 10 in terms of scent strength. 6 out of 10, and that's uncommon. It's much more common for scents to be a little bit on the light side. That's one thing I like about Declaration Grooming. Most of the time I don't have that issue at all. Southern Witchcrafts is another one that is similar strength that I just enjoy. Their performance, they're not actual witches. And I love the strength there. There's some other makers that I enjoy the base of so much, but so many of their scents are kind of on the weak side. Barrister & Mann's another one that's often wonderful strength similar to this, where you just get to enjoy the scent during the shave in a nice way. I realize some people have issues and they can't have a really intense scent or concentration of the fragrance oils because it bothers their skin, and you know, that's unfortunate for them if they would rather have something different. And some people just like light scents anyway. Nothing wrong with that. All right, well, this feels terrific on my face. So slick. And so we are just going to take this off. Keep the touch light. I could go against the grain if I wanted to. Probably this razor is just so smooth. And my cheeks can actually handle it. My neck usually can't. Okay, so here, I'm going to remember, pull my neck just a little bit, come at this section at a slightly different angle than I have been previously, and hopefully pick up some hairs that have been ornery. This side over here, I don't even have to go full on cross grain, and I just get a nice shave. So at least there's a well-behaved, you know, in my face. I've got kids, and so we have Highlights magazines running around sometimes, and if you ever saw those in the doctor's office when you were a kid, there's that series called Goofus and Gallant, and it just hit me that here's Gallant over here, always easy to shave, easy to please. Don't have to be rough on it at all. And here's Goofus over here with swirls and weird ways. It took me a long time to figure out the right directional strategies to be efficient and to cut as well as I could. Goofus and Gallant. I don't really see any length on hairs. A lot of them are cut flush. I see tips, and so I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. So the C handled the feather very well. I did feel more of a hair cutting sensation, not the blade, on that first pass. I felt more of that cutting. It was almost a super light tugging, but it was a cutting, and so it wasn't uncomfortable or anything like that. But then after that first pass, it was tremendous. Smooth sailing. A delight for sure. Okay, total water used so far, 5 teaspoons, I believe. And I did a 4-pass shave. I have no irritation. My face doesn't feel overused or tender at all. Got even a light layer of slickness still in place. I've got oily skin, so that does help a little bit. So after 4 passes, I still have plenty of lather. And that is how I like my Bison. That is just perfect. Dear Bison. All right. 40 seconds, 5 teaspoons. I'll put that in, maybe figure out a ratio to level in the proper ratios, bring it down just a little bit so I don't overuse. I don't end up with too much lather wasted. So, do I find this scent objectionable just because it has rose in it? No. Could I shave with this on a regular basis? Yes. It's got some spices. It's got some interest. The sandalwood is not as strong as the rose, but with the pepper and some of those other spices, it is holding its own. It's keeping that rose into kind of a masculine or at least a unisex type place. No, I think it is masculine with all that spice and pepper and stuff. I think it's keeping that rose in the masculine side of the spectrum. Nothing wrong with you guys who like to wear flowery, feminine stuff. Yeah, that's your preference. You do you. Matter of fact, 100 years ago, I think everything was flowery, because that was a sign that you'd gotten clean and gotten a shave, So I think the heritage of wet shaving is those types of flowery and floral and powdery type scents. Right now, a lot of that rose is lost. The rose, it's like it burned out. It was used up. I think maybe we're getting down to the base notes now, getting out of the maybe the middle and the top notes. I think I can smell the sandalwood. Little hint of the rose in terms of a sweetness, or maybe that's built into the sandalwood. Nice. So, the next question. Do I like it? Yes, I do. I think it's very interesting. I think it's well done. I think it's creative and well executed. Next question. Would I use it more than a lot of my other soaps that are clearly in the masculine spectrum with a little bit more interest? Leather or some of the cologne type scents like from Sterling. The interesting evocative scents like from Barrister Man, like Hallows, and Diamond is awesome, even Trismegistus, if I'm pronouncing that right, from Declaration Grooming or L&L. Taxes is awesome from there. I like so many. The Sellout, you know, the Aventus one from Declaration Grooming. You know, Noble Otter has Plunder and so many good options, and Storybook and Summer Break. All those guys are offering, and some really interesting stuff from Southern Witchcraft, the Necromantic and the Lycanthropy and the Alchemist, and so many. Now, am I going to want to use this over some of those other guys? Fine accoutrements with the Santal Absolute, I'm a big fan of that one. American Blend is their barbershop, you know. Mitchell's Wool Fat, Tobacco, you know. That's the question. That's the question. I'm going to keep this guy around, though. See if I can answer that part of the question, because I don't know the answer to that one yet. But I have learned that, yes, Bison is just maybe in the top 3 my favorite bases ever, and my top of Declaration Grooming. Barrister and Man may have a soap base that I might like more than Bison, maybe. But at that point, right around the Bison level and the Barrister and Man and some of those other guys, it's so close. They're all so good. In a sense, I don't even want to put a rating, you know, put my favorites out there, because the top 6 are just so amazing. We are blessed to have so many options, and so many good options. Oh, man. All right. I have talked a lot. I apologize if you wanted a quick video. Now, I've told you the water used and the amount of time we loaded for. This is a larger knot, and so if you have a smaller brush, then maybe the 40 seconds, if it's a lot smaller, maybe the 40 seconds might be a good idea. It all depends. It's going to be flexible. If you have a large brush like this, and then maybe the water added and the soap, the time used, might be closer, a good ballpark for you to, you know, try to get your own lather going that way. At least hopefully it'll get you within a reasonable area if you're having a special trouble somehow with doing it yourself. So maybe this will help. All right. Man, so nice. I'm going to clean up. I do know that I wouldn't want an aftershave or a cologne of this particular scent. I don't really want that aspect of the rose just to be always in my nose. It's very interesting during the context of the shave and enjoyable. And indeed, there might be some mental places that a scent like this can help you get to. Very relaxing, very peaceful. It's not hard-hitting in your face. It is easygoing. If you're a night shaver especially, maybe something really punchy like a hard-hitting, zesty citrus, or you know, something like that is maybe a little too much. And so maybe something smooth like this is a nice warm scent to enjoy instead of something harsh. I think the spices mixed in with this scent make it so that it is a nice one for 3 out of the 4 seasons for certain. Fall, winter, well suited. Spring, yeah, I think so. Summer, I bet you could do it. I think it would work there as well. Maybe not quite as much as quite as nice as the other seasons, and especially winter and fall when it's cool. These spices just kind of resonate, at least with me. Also, new to me, and also of L&L Grooming's brand, is this DFS, kind of limited edition, made for the damnfineshave.com website. Obviously a group buy kind of thing for 2017. Let us see how if this goes with the Rose Santal. Never tried this one before. I just smelled it a little bit just now. It seems like it's not going to really conflict. Yeah, kind of some warm spices in there jumping out at me right away, so I think it's going to mix nicely. Got a little bit of menthol coming up. I am so glad that recently Scott has decided, of Declaration Grooming, to release his splashes with a small bottle of menthol drops. And so, if you're like me and don't like menthol, then you can just enjoy the aftershave. And if you like just a little, then put one drop in there. It's just so great. Dump the whole thing in there if you're just a menthol junkie. Yeah. This the menthol still hasn't burned away quite so much. That smell is still there, but I can smell some of the notes and the maybe leather or something like that that's kind of coming through, and some warm spices. I think it's very, very nice and a good match, a good transition from the rose Santal to this guy right here. So to me, a good pairing. So to sum up, that was an excellent shave in so many ways. Razor reminded me of why I've used the Karve more than any other razor that I have. It's the base plate that's slightly above his mid-range, but to me it feels like it's so safe and nice and close cutting. It feels to me like it should be the mid-range. And the feather worked super well at use number 44. It may not have made mincemeat out of the first pass, but it did out of the second pass. And after the first, it was just smooth sailing, high comfort, just an enjoyable shave all the way around. The brush, tremendous. Love the tips. I'm glad I have that knot. I may change it to a little bit longer of a handle. The slope here narrows down quickly to the waist, and so it kind of jams my fingertips into this, the wall here, if you will. And I might like a slightly different shape. That's why I mount with silicone, so I can yank that out when needed. Brush, big win. It was interesting and wonderful to try a new soap scent. It was awesome to experience Bison again and be reminded of how much I enjoy it, and then to hydrate it properly, to see it in action and get some lather awesomeness going on. And I will definitely post online and point some guys to that nice elastic lather that just strung out and was so amazing. And that's today's shave. A great shave after a long day of driving and traffic and things like that. Hey, I hope there was something here. I sure think there was. I hope there was something here for you that you enjoyed. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.